I just recently wrote the first draft to my book every single day for a month straight. That might not seem like an incredible feat, and I admit it's not an extremely difficult challenge, but I've learned some lessons along the way while doing that. And I wonder how much more of those lessons will be confirmed as I write for every day for 2 months straight, 3 months straight, a year straight. If I could write 365 days straight, an entire year, what that would do for my writing. First thing, I've been moving the last part of my episodes up to the first because I think it's so important to thank all of you for your support, commenting, liking these videos, and definitely subscribing if you haven't done so already. I really appreciate the support, and I'm excited to deliver my writing to you and hopefully deliver an epic fantasy book that you will all enjoy. So a little bit of background before getting into the actual kind of mini challenge in a way that I've set up for myself. I've set up several different ways where I wanted to write each day for the first draft of my book. Some of that has been maybe writing during the weekdays during the week, 4 or 5 days during the week, just because I would use the excuse that the weekends get busy, unpredictable, traveling, visiting family on the weekend, family or friends visiting you on the weekend, and all that is true. The weekends do tend to get a little bit more busy and less structured than the week. So again, I would try to condense my writing into the weekdays. What I would find with that, though, is even though it was only 2-3 day break, by the time I came to Monday to write my book, I felt like that even that separation was too much, and I would almost be overwhelmed opening my book. I would feel like, well, I haven't written in a few days. I'm kind of uncertain where I left at, and my mind would just become a little overwhelmed. Maybe some people can do that. My brain just was not able to kind of connect the dots between that. When I did open my book, I actually would get a good flow going once I kind of remembered where I was, read a little bit where I left off. But then another problem with that is I would say, okay, because I'm not writing these days, I have to write a little bit more during the week. Say instead of writing an hour a day, it would be an hour and 15 minutes, or maybe it was like 1,000 words or 1,500 words, whatever it was. There was a set goal that I had to meet. And I knew that if I didn't get that goal, then I would fall short of the timeline of when I wanted to get my first draft done. Now, there's a whole bunch of science there on how my mind works and the perfection kind of side of things and wanting things to be done in an exact way. I get all that. But what I found was if there was something that came up where I couldn't write during the weekday, or if I fell short of my goal for whatever reason, I would get super frustrated and it would definitely knock me down. And I would start to get in my own head about it. So just a lot of different reasons why setting up a schedule like that did not work for me. I had tried the writing every day in the past, but kind of the same thing happened where if I didn't get my full hour, or if I didn't get my full 3 pages, or whatever the goal was, I would get, again, just frustrated, think, well, if I can't do it now, then how am I going to do it in the future, and just kind of spiral out of control. So what I needed was a big reset. About a month ago, of course, we got sick in the home, just a sickness going around, and there was a couple days where I didn't write, didn't feel too well. And then something just hit me, and I thought, well, I probably could have written at least a couple sentences during those days. Even though my mind felt foggy, I didn't feel well, I had to take care of the kids who were sick, my wife was sick, there was still at least 5 minutes during that day where I could have sat down and wrote even just 2 or 3 sentences to kind of keep the ball rolling. And I thought, well, what would happen if I did that every day? Even on a healthy day, if there was a day where it was just super busy and I couldn't write like a full hour, what if I just wrote a paragraph or two? If I stuck to a consistent writing schedule every day, what kind of results would I see? So that's what I set out to do. I've covered this bit a little bit in my first draft video, so if you haven't watched that yet, please go ahead and do so, but I'll touch on it a little bit here. My main goal is to write an hour a day. That's kind of the soft goal. It used to be a hard goal, now it's my soft goal. Sit down, write an hour a day. Really the hard goal that I need to do every day is just write every day. Whether it's a few sentences if I'm sick, or if it's a busy day, or if something's happening, or even more than an hour if it's a quiet day, if for some reason I find myself alone and for whatever reason the kids aren't in the house, which doesn't happen too often. But I target for that hour a day, or about 3 pages, 1,000 words. Just that those are kind of secondary goals, a word count, a page count. I like to write about an hour a day. In this month, what I did was I set out to do that with the with also the mindset that if there was a day where I didn't write an hour, that it was okay as long as I wrote something. And I'll be honest with you, there were more days than I expected where that was the case, where I would sit down, whether maybe the kids were up late or something, or we had something going on the night before, and I overslept my alarm, or the kids woke up early and I didn't get to that morning time when I was supposed to write. During those days, I would at least find some sort of quiet time during the day or at night right before I fell asleep to open up my iPad and write a few sentences or a paragraph. Now, that's not, a 3 pages that I would like during the day. However, by keeping that consistency up during the day, it helped make the writing for the rest of the month go very smoothly. So anyway, that's what I've been doing for the last month, for over 30 straight days, just writing the first draft for my book every single day. So that was kind of a big introduction, but let's talk about each of those points specifically. The 3 benefits that I've kind of gained from this shift in my schedule for my writing has been consistency, the lack of burnout, and an acceptable accountability method. The first one that's been the biggest benefit, I believe, is consistency. So a lot of people do challenges where write a book in a month, or write 5,000 words every day for a month. I'm thinking about November, or there's some extreme challenges out there. Write a book in a week. I mean, sit down every day from the time you wake up to go to bed and write a book. I think those challenges are awesome. I think they're inspiring for people who can do it. That's a huge boost to be able to write a book that quick and kind of speed them along. Those are phenomenal. That's not for me though. I Not to say that I couldn't do those things, and maybe some point I will, but just with everyday life, having kids, being married, just everything that comes with the busyness of life, it's tough for me to do a big challenge like that. And it also kind of applies a little bit to burnout, which is my second point. But what I found is this consistency challenge, if you will, is a lot more beneficial to me than if I were to just cram a book into a month. So the reason for that is because the consistency means it's something that I can continue on in the future. I can't write a book a month, every single month, until the day I die. That would just be way too much. However, I can write every day until the day I die, or at least until I get to a point where I physically can't. I can get up in the day, even if I'm sick, if I'm exhausted, if I'm traveling, and just write a few sentences on the worst day. And on the best day, it's still on my schedule to get up, wake up, and write my book. So the consistency factor is very important to me. It helps me to, when I open up my iPad the next day and I start going into my writing, I'm already fresh from yesterday's writing and I know where I left up on. There's no gaps in between. And it has been extremely beneficial and very motivational for me to continue going. There's no feeling of, oh, I missed this one day, or, oh, I didn't reach this word count or this time goal. No, it's, hey, you wrote yesterday. Awesome. It doesn't matter how much you wrote. You wrote yesterday. Keep on going. And so that consistency definitely help with my mentality with my writing, and also just the progress every day. Writing a sentence is better than not writing any sentences. So every single day I am making progress on my book, which is extremely beneficial for the psyche, my mentality, and then just getting the book done. I've touched on it a little bit, but the second factor that I've realized going through this is I don't experience burnout. And I've experienced that a lot in the past, whether it's by trying to be the gardener type of writer, if you're familiar with that. I've touched on it in previous episodes, versus my mind is set around being an architect of the book. So when I tried to write my book as a gardener and letting the story take me where it would go, I felt extreme burnout from that. Much like I would feel extreme burnout if I tried to cram my writing into 3, 4, or 5 days during the week when I thought I had the time scheduled, and it just would fall through. And then I'd have to catch up again. And it was extremely stressful, and I did experience burnout. With this, though, there is no burnout. Even if it's a really good writing day and I'm going through the pages, say I've written 3 pages and I'm 40 minutes into my writing, if I start to feel a little, just tired, or my brain starts to fizzle out a little bit from it, I don't need to go that full hour, because I've written to a point where I feel comfortable that, I've written 2 or 3 or 4 pages. I wrote during the day, and I can be happy with that. On the same token, if I wake up and I write a paragraph and then I have a really sore throat, or if I'm dizzy, or the last couple weeks I've had some allergies, and even though I've been writing fairly well the last couple weeks, there's been some days where it's just been awful. I can still write that little bit or as much as I want and not suffer from burnout. And again, that's just been super helpful, again, for my mental health, for my physical well being. It affects everyone around me, so beneficial for my family, and that's been super helpful for not experiencing that burnout. The third benefit is having reasonable accountability. That might sound a little weird. Well, what do you mean by that? So, what I mean by reasonable accountability is I would make up excuses before when I didn't get to my writing and kind of measure each day. So, for instance, if it was an extremely busy day at work, if I got home tired, and if we had to take the kids to gymnastics, if it was just a busy day, I would basically just say, well, that's okay that you didn't write today. It was busy. And then I'd let it go. And then the next day it might happen again, and so on and so forth. And so it was just so easy for me to make excuses. So I wouldn't be very accountable with my actual time because these excuses seemed more important than the time I had set aside for writing. With a situation like this, though, the accountability factor is much easier. It's not, hey, did you write an hour a day? And if I didn't, I don't have to say, well, why didn't you write that hour a day? Were you not feeling up to the task? Were you sick? Did this happen? Then my mind just keeps going down that kind of spiral track of judging whether I wrote enough, whether I didn't, and I'm my own worst critic and probably the best critic too. So I can be very hard on myself. But with this way, my accountability is, hey, did you write today? And that is it. Did you open up that iPad? So a couple nights ago, it was just, again, a really just busy day. I forget what happened that morning, why I wasn't able to write, but I got to the end of the day. I was exhausted in bed, and I was sitting there thinking, and I thought, oh, I didn't write today. And rather than say, hey, you know what, that's okay, try it again tomorrow, instead of pushing that out, I said, no, I just need to write something today. So I opened up my iPad and I wrote a paragraph. I needed to get something down. And that just shows how much easier that accountability is, having that reasonable targeted goal. So if that was me in the past, I would have been frustrated, discouraged. I would have tried to write maybe an hour that night, but then I would have thought, well, I can't do an hour. I'm exhausted. So I wouldn't have even opened up my iPad to write. But with this kind of reasonable setting, hey, just write every day, no matter what it is much more easier to keep myself accountable on. Did you just write? That is the only baseline. Not an hour, not a page, not even a paragraph. Did you write anything at all? So that the accountability has been much more easier on me. And again, it kind of, all three of these categories kind of go together. The consistency, the burnout, the accountability, all three of these things have been made easier. And I've seen much more improvement for my book as well as a result. It might sound like there'd not be much of a huge improvement. Well, if you write every day, if you write a paragraph every day, that doesn't amount to too much. Yeah, you'll get a book done eventually, but so what? How is that something that's very consistent or very important or to your life and to your readers? Well, one thing I would say to that is, because I enjoy writing. So on a lot of days, I do write around 3 pages a day, or I write close to an hour. So there's a lot of great days. And on the days where I don't write that, I am still writing. I am still fighting the schedule that I have in my life in order to write. I would say if I was someone who didn't enjoy writing, or writing didn't come, I wouldn't say naturally, but if writing didn't come as an enjoyment to me while I sat down to write, then yeah, it would be an issue if I was forcing myself into this. But because I enjoy writing, I enjoy sitting down, writing 1,000 pages in a sitting, and going through the day, going each day, working on my book. That just means that the days that I am sick, I'm burnt out, whatever happens, those are the days where I need that accountability to come in, and where I have that reasonable goal of, hey, just write something. So it's on those down days where having that challenge for myself to write every day really comes into play. So I encourage all of you writing, whether you're watching this, whether you're a writer, or whether you're trying to do something at work or around the home, whatever goal you have set for yourself that you want to do or accomplish, I would encourage you to try out this consistency method. Rather than going full steam ahead, you're going to do 5 hours of this a day, or you're going to do this no matter what each week, or you're just going to go, no matter what time is given to you. I would just encourage to take a step back and try out this consistency method because I think it's super helpful. Whether it's a once a week thing or a once a day thing, or doing a small amount every day or a small amount every month, but whatever goal or challenge that you have for yourself, I'd encourage you not to go full steam ahead and instead just pick a consistent goal. It doesn't have to be every day that I'm doing. Maybe it's 2 days a week every time on this day that you're going to do it. Whatever way it is, start out small, have a consistent, reasonable goal that you won't get burnt out by, and keep yourself accountable with it. I think you'll see a lot of benefits just like I have. So that's the end of this episode. I hope you found it beneficial. Again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Would appreciate all the support that you can give me. We'll see you next time.